There are still places in this world that leave modern people bewildered. Ancient structures so massive, mysterious artifacts so precise, and engineering feats so impossible that they challenge everything we think we know about our own past. These are not legends or fairy tales, but real mysteries documented by archaeologists and historians. Colossal stone blocks that even our most powerful modern machines would struggle to move. Intricate carvings made with a precision that seems to defy the tools of their time. Entire cities built with the knowledge of mathematics and astronomy that should not have existed. Today, we journey together into the world's greatest unsolved mysteries, where history itself sometimes breaks all the rules. So fasten your seatbelt as we dive deep into the unexplained. But first, you'll have incredible luck if you like and subscribe before this video ends. Our first stop is perhaps the most famous and most profound enigma on Earth, the Great Pyramid of Giza. For 4,500 years, it has stood as a silent testament to a forgotten age, the last surviving wonder of the ancient world. We are taught that it was built as a tomb for the pharaoh Khufu, but the deeper we look, the more questions arise. The official story simply cannot account for the sheer, mind-boggling impossibility of its existence. Let's consider the numbers. The Great Pyramid is composed of an estimated 2.3 million stone blocks, mostly limestone and granite, with individual blocks weighing anywhere from 2.5 to an astonishing 80 tons. The total weight of the structure is nearly 6 million tons. It was the tallest man-made structure on Earth for over 3,800 years. Mainstream Egyptology suggests this colossal monument was built in a period of just 20 to 30 years. This timeline presents our first great mystery. To complete the pyramid in 20 years, workers would have had to quarry, transport, shape, and perfectly place one massive block every 5 minutes, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This feat would challenge even our own modern construction technology, yet we are told it was accomplished by a civilization that supposedly lacked a wheel, iron tools, and sophisticated lifting equipment. The mystery deepens when we examine the pyramid's interior. The precision is breathtaking. The massive granite blocks that form the king's chamber are cut so perfectly that you cannot fit a razor blade between the joints. The long, narrow shafts extending from the chambers, once thought to be for ventilation, are now known to align with incredible accuracy to specific stars Orion's belt, Sirius, and others as they appeared in the sky thousands of years ago. The entire structure is aligned to true north, with an accuracy of within 3/60ths of a single degree, a level of precision that was not matched again until the 18th century. So how did they do it? The conventional theory proposes that tens of thousands of skilled laborers used a system of enormous ramps to haul the stones into place. Yet, the logistics of such a ramp defy belief. It would have been a structure even more massive than the pyramid itself. Other theories suggest internal ramps or even the use of water locks to float the stones upward, but no definitive evidence for any of these methods has ever been found. This has led to more speculative ideas. Could the ancient Egyptians have possessed a lost technology, a form of acoustic levitation, or advanced mathematics inherited from an even older, lost civilization? For now, the Great Pyramid offers no easy answers. It is not just a pile of stones. It is a marvel of geometric and astronomical knowledge that should not exist. From the sun-scorched deserts of Egypt, we travel to the green, windswept plains of England, to a mystery just as old and just as baffling, Stonehenge. For 5,000 years, this circle of colossal standing stones has captured the human imagination. Who built it? How did they transport these multi-ton stones over vast distances? And most importantly, why? The construction of Stonehenge was a multi-phase project spanning over 1,500 years. What its most famous features are the stones themselves. There are two types. The outer circle and inner horseshoe are made of massive sarsen stones, weighing up to 40 tons each. Geologists have traced these to a quarry nearly 20 miles away. Even more mysterious are the smaller bluestones, weighing up to 4 tons each. Scientific analysis has proven that these stones originated in the Preseli Hills in Wales, over 150 miles from the site. The question of transport is one of archaeology's greatest puzzles. How did a Neolithic society, with no advanced technology, manage to quarry and transport these giant stones across such a formidable distance, navigating hills, forests, and rivers? It would have been a monumental undertaking, requiring the dedicated effort of thousands of people over many generations. Why go to such incredible lengths? The purpose of Stonehenge is perhaps its most enduring secret. For centuries, it was believed to be a temple for Druid rituals, but archaeology has proven it predates the Druids by thousands of years. The most widely accepted theory today is that it was a sophisticated astronomical observatory. The entire monument is precisely aligned with the movements of the sun and moon. On the summer solstice, the sun rises directly over the heel stone, casting a beam of light into the heart of the circle. Other alignments mark the winter solstice and even complex lunar cycles. It was a giant, celestial calendar built in stone. But other theories abound. Excavations have revealed that Stonehenge was also a major burial ground, with hundreds of human remains interred at the site over the centuries. This suggests it was a sacred space, a place to honor the ancestors. More recently, researchers have proposed it was a center for healing. The blue stones were believed to have magical or curative properties, and people may have made long pilgrimages to the site seeking cures for their ailments. Some have even suggested the site was chosen for its unique acoustic properties, acting as a giant echo chamber for ritual chanting. The truth is, it may have been all of these things at once: a temple, a calendar, and a cemetery. But without any written records from its builders, Stonehenge remains a magnificent, silent enigma. Our final mystery in this chapter takes us to the desolate plains of southern Peru, to a work of art so vast it can only be truly appreciated from the sky. These are the Nazca Lines, a collection of over 800 straight lines, 300 geometric figures, and 70 incredible depictions of animals and plants, etched into the desert floor sometime between 500 BC and 500 AD. Some of these lines run perfectly straight for over 30 miles. The biomorphs, or animal figures, are equally immense. The hummingbird measures over 300 feet long. The condor has a wingspan of 440 feet, and the spider is 150 feet across. They were created by a simple but effective method. The ancient Nazca people removed the reddish-brown, iron oxide-coated pebbles that cover the desert surface to reveal the lighter-colored ground beneath. The first puzzle is how they achieved such scale and precision. From ground level, the lines are often barely visible and appear as nothing more than shallow pathways. Their true form only becomes apparent when viewed from hundreds of feet in the air. How did a culture, without any known form of aviation design, and execute these massive figures so perfectly? The prevailing theory is that the designers used small-scale models and then scaled them up using simple surveying techniques with wooden stakes and long ropes. It was an incredible feat of mathematics and planning. But the greater mystery is why. What was the purpose of these colossal drawings? Were they created as offerings to appease powerful nature gods in the sky? Perhaps to bring rain to this arid region? Some researchers believe the lines function as ceremonial pathways designed to be walked during religious rituals. Others suggest they are a giant astronomical map, with the lines aligning to the positions of celestial bodies. Another compelling theory links the lines to water. Many of the geometric shapes and animal figures are located near or point towards sources of precious underground water, suggesting they may have been part of a ritual system to find and honor this life-giving resource. Of course, more exotic theories exist, from the idea that the lines were giant runways for alien spacecraft to the notion that the Nazca people had developed primitive hot air balloons to view their creations. While there is no evidence for these claims, the sheer mystery of the lines continues to inspire such speculation. Today, preserved by the dry, windless climate, the Nazca Lines remain one of history's most beautiful and inscrutable messages, an ancient secret drawn in the sand, waiting for an answer that may never come. While the Nazca Lines represent a message etched onto the surface of the world, our next mystery lies deep beneath it, guarded by an army of clay and a river of poison. We travel to China, to the tomb of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor to unite the nation and a ruler of unimaginable power and ambition. For over 200 years, his final resting place has remained a perfectly sealed time capsule, its secrets protected not only by the silent vigil of the Terracotta Army, but also by legends of deadly traps and a promise of cosmic grandeur within. While the world has marveled at the thousands of life-size soldiers unearthed since 1974, the central mausoleum, the underground palace said to hold the emperor's body, remains utterly unexplored, a challenge that modern science has not yet dared to meet. The tomb complex, located near the city of Xi'an, is a testament to the scale of the emperor's vision, spanning a staggering 56 square kilometers. Construction began when Qin Shi Huang was just a 13-year-old boy ascending to the throne, and continued for nearly 4 decades, an effort that, according to the ancient historian Sima Jin, mobilized over 700,000 laborers. This workforce dwarfed that of any other project of its time, including the Great Pyramid. What they built was not merely a tomb, but a subterranean empire. The Terracotta Army is just the beginning. Surrounding the central burial mound are hundreds of pits containing not just soldiers, but clay acrobats, musicians, officials, and bronze chariots pulled by bronze horses, all designed to serve the emperor in the afterlife. Each warrior is unique, with individual facial features, hairstyles, and armor, a ghostly echo of the real army that once conquered all of China. But it is Sima Qian's description of the central tomb itself that truly fires the imagination. Writing about a century after the emperor's death, he described an underground palace of unparalleled magnificence, a perfect microcosm of the emperor's domain on Earth. He wrote of rivers and oceans modeled from pure, flowing mercury, designed with a mechanism to run eternally. The ceiling of the main chamber was said to be encrusted with pearls and precious gems to replicate the constellations of the night sky, while the floor was a map of his earthly empire. The historian also spoke of deadly, automated traps, crossbows, and arrows rigged to fire upon any intruder who dared to disturb the emperor as eternal slumber. To ensure the tomb's secrets were kept, legend holds that all the craftsmen who built the inner chambers, along with the emperor's childless concubines, were sealed inside alive after the funeral was complete. For centuries, these accounts were thought to be myth, but modern science has proven them terrifyingly real. Remote sensing surveys have confirmed the existence of a massive, symmetrical underground structure beneath the burial mound. More chillingly, soil samples taken from the area show abnormally high concentrations of mercury, perfectly aligning with Sima Qian's account of the toxic, flowing rivers. This evidence presents a formidable barrier. The question is no longer where the tomb is, but why we cannot open it. The first reason is preservation. Archaeologists fear that any attempt to excavate the tomb with current technology will lead to the irreversible destruction of its contents. When the terracotta warriors were first unearthed, their vibrant, painted colors faded to dust within minutes of being exposed to the air. What priceless silks, ancient manuscripts, and fragile artifacts would be lost forever the moment we open the central chamber. Furthermore, the sheer volume of mercury vapor trapped inside would be lethal, posing an environmental and health disaster if not contained with absolute perfection. Beyond the scientific challenges, there are deep cultural and spiritual considerations. In China, imperial tombs are sacred, and the first emperor is a figure of immense national pride and historical significance. The Chinese government remains extremely cautious, believing that to disturb his rest would be an act of profound disrespect to their ancestors. And so, the tomb of Qin Shi Huang remains sealed. Does it hold the secrets of a lost technology, ancient texts that could rewrite history? Or is it simply the greatest treasure hoard ever assembled? We do not know. The silent emperor lies beneath his man-made mountain, surrounded by his clay army, and his rivers of poison, waiting for a future that is advanced enough and perhaps worthy enough to finally behold his world. While one emperor's tomb is known but sealed, another great conqueror's final resting place has vanished from history so completely that it has become the stuff of pure legend. We search now for the lost tomb of Genghis Khan, the man who forged the largest contiguous land empire the world has ever known. He was, without question, one of the most powerful and influential figures in all of human history, a leader whose armies reshaped continents. And yet, his grave, the final resting place of a man who commanded the known world, has never been found. It has left no mark, no monument, no clue. How could the burial of such a monumental figure be so utterly erased from existence? Genghis Khan died in 1227 during a military campaign against the Western Jia Kingdom in northern China. According to legend, his final wish was to be buried in absolute secrecy, his grave unmarked and unknown for all time, allowing his spirit to rest undisturbed. The lengths his followers went to fulfill this wish are the basis of the mystery. The secret history of the Mongols, the oldest surviving chronicle of his life, speaks of his death but says nothing of his burial. Marco Polo, who lived and traveled in the Mongol Empire under the rule of Genghis Khan's grandson, Kublai Khan, wrote that even in his time, the tomb's location was a complete unknown. The folklore surrounding the burial is as epic and brutal as the man himself. One legend recounts that after his body was brought back to his homeland in Mongolia, the funeral procession killed every person and animal they encountered along their journey to eliminate any witnesses. Another story claims that the 2,000 people who attended the actual funeral were executed by a contingent of soldiers, and that those soldiers were in turn slain by another final guard, ensuring the secret died with them. To physically erase the site, It is said that 1,000 horses were galloped back and forth over the filled grave to trample the earth flat, leaving it indistinguishable from the surrounding steppe. Some tales even speak of a river being diverted to flow over the tomb, or an entire forest being planted on top of it to hide it forever. A particularly poignant story tells of a baby camel being buried with the emperor. The mother camel was then brought to the site periodically, and her sorrowful cries at the spot where her calf was buried allowed Genghis Khan's descendants to find the sacred location to pay their respects. But when the mother camel eventually died, the final living link to the tomb was lost forever. For centuries, explorers and archaeologists have searched in vain. Most believe the tomb lies somewhere near his birthplace, in the Keni Mountains of northeastern Mongolia, near the sacred mountain of Burkhan-Halden, where he prayed before beginning his conquest of the world. Modern technology has been brought to bear on the problem. Satellite imagery, ground-penetrating radar, and even crowdsourced projects involving tens of thousands of volunteers. Scanning aerial photographs have all been used to search for anomalies in the landscape. Yet, every potential site has led to a dead end. Part of the challenge is the sheer resistance of the Mongolian people. Genghis Khan is not just a historical figure, he is the revered father of their nation. The land he was born in is considered holy, and any attempt to excavate it is seen as a grave desecration. They believe his wish for secrecy must be honored. The mystery, therefore, is protected by both the vast, untamed wilderness and the deep cultural reverence of a nation. If found, the tomb would undoubtedly be the greatest archaeological discovery of the 21st century, believed to contain the accumulated treasures of an empire that stretched from the Pacific Ocean to the Caspian Sea. But for now, it remains a ghost, a story whispered on the wind that sweeps across the endless grasslands of Mongolia. From the secrets buried beneath the earth, we now turn to a mystery of engineering that stands in plain sight, mocking our understanding of ancient capabilities. In the Bekaa Valley of Lebanon lies the ancient city of Baalbek. For millennia, it was a crossroads of civilizations. But beneath the Roman temples that dominate its landscape lies a foundation so massive, so incomprehensible, that it defies all logical explanation. At the heart of this enigma are the three largest work stones in the world, a formation known as the Trilithon. These three monolithic blocks, forming part of the podium of the Roman Temple of Jupiter, are each nearly 64 feet long, 14 feet high, and weigh an estimated 800 tons apiece. For perspective, each stone is the size and weight of 3 Boeing 747 airplanes. Yet, they were quarried, transported over a mile, lifted more than 20 feet into the air, and fitted together with such precision that a knife blade cannot be inserted between them. The Romans, who built the temple on top of this platform around the 1st century AD, were master builders, but even their most advanced technology was wholly inadequate for a task of this magnitude. Roman cranes, the most powerful lifting devices of the ancient world, could handle a maximum of 50 to 60 tons. The stones of the Trilithon are over 15 times heavier. There is no historical record, no inscription, no text from the Roman era that describes how such a feat was accomplished. The mystery only deepens when you visit the nearby quarry. Lying there, partially unearthed, is an even larger block, known as the Stone of the Pregnant Woman. It weighs a staggering 1,000 tons, and in 2014, archaeologists uncovered another, even larger stone block right beside it, estimated to weigh an incredible 1,650 tons. This is, by far, the largest single piece of stone ever quarried by human hands. These stones were cut and shaped, but never moved. Why were they abandoned? Did the builders simply overreach, creating something so massive that even they could not transport it? This has led many researchers to a radical conclusion. The megalithic foundation of Baalbek was not built by the Romans. They suggest that the Romans, recognizing the sacredness and stability of this ancient platform, simply built their own temple on top of a structure that was already thousands of years old, left behind by a much earlier and far more technologically advanced civilization. Proponents of this theory point to the different style and weathering of the foundation stones, compared to the Roman temple above. But if it wasn't the Romans, who was it? With no written records and no other trace of this lost civilization, we are left only with the stones themselves. They are a silent, immovable testament to an unknown power and an unknown purpose, challenging the very timeline of human technological development. Baalbek remains an absolute impossibility, a miracle of engineering left behind by masters whose names are lost to time. The mysteries of Baalbek and the tombs of great emperors are etched into the landscape, their scale challenging our perception of physical labor. But some of the world's most profound enigmas are not measured in tons of stone, but in whispers of ink and the turning of a page. Hidden within the archives of Sweden's National Library in Stockholm lies one of the most unsettling and mysterious manuscripts ever created, the Codex Gigas. Known to the world by a more sinister name, the Devil's Bible, it is the largest surviving medieval manuscript in existence. A colossal book that astonishes not only with its sheer size, but with the dark and chilling legend of its creation. A legend that has clung to its pages for nearly 800 years. The manuscript is a true giant, weighing nearly 75 kilograms or 165 pounds. It measures over 3 feet long and requires at least a people to lift it. Its 620 pages were crafted from the treated skins of more than 160 animals, a testament to the immense resources required for its creation. But its fame comes from the story of its author. Legend, passed down since the 13th century, tells of a Benedictine monk in Bohemia, a region of the modern-day Czech Republic. This monk, having broken his sacred vows, was sentenced to the most horrifying of punishments, to be walled up alive within the monastery. In a desperate plea for his life, he made an impossible promise to his abbot. He swore that in a single night, he could create a book containing all human knowledge, from the complete text of the Bible to the secrets of science, medicine, and history, bringing eternal glory to the monastery. Knowing this was a task no mortal could complete, the monk, as midnight approached, allegedly made a pact not with God, but with the devil. Satan himself appeared, and in exchange for the monk's soul, agreed to help him finish the manuscript before sunrise. In gratitude for this demonic assistance, the monk included a full-page, terrifying portrait of the devil in the very heart of the book. A chilling, green-skinned figure with sharp claws, a forked tongue, and piercing red eyes. It is this illustration that gives the book its name and its cursed reputation. While this tale is only a legend, the reality of the Codex Gigas is no less mysterious. Modern analysis of the script reveals that the entire book, from the biblical text to the historical chronicles and medical formulas, was written by a single scribe. The handwriting is so remarkably uniform, with no signs of aging, fatigue, or error, that experts have been baffled for centuries. Some estimate that to write the book alone, without the intricate illustrations, would have required at least 5 years of non-stop work. To complete the entire masterpiece could have taken one person as long as 30 years. The contents are just as enigmatic as its creation. It contains the entire Latin Vulgate Bible, but alongside it are texts that seem utterly out of place. The historical antiquities of the Jews by Josephus, the popular etymologia encyclopedia by Isidore of Seville, a collection of medical works from the ancient world, and even texts on magic include spells for exorcisms and arcane rituals. And then there's the portrait of the devil, which sits directly opposite the depiction of the heavenly city, creating a stark duality of good and evil at the book's center. Over the centuries, the Codex Gigas has been blamed for disasters wherever it has been housed, from fires to military defeats. It was seized as war plunder by the Swedish army in 1648 and has remained in their care ever since. To this day, no one knows the true identity of the monk who wrote it, or why he dedicated decades of his life to creating such a strange and all-encompassing work. Was he a genius, a madman, or, as legend suggests, a man who truly made a deal with the devil? The Codex Gigas offers no answers, its perfect script guarding its secrets as silently as the day it was finished. From a book of impossible knowledge, we turn to a device of impossible technology. In the year 1900, a group of Greek sponge divers seeking shelter from a storm anchored near the small island of Enigmatic. While diving, they discovered an ancient Roman shipwreck, its treasures scattered across the seafloor. Among the marble statues and pottery they recovered was a corroded, unassuming lump of bronze, about the size of a showbox. It was dismissed as a piece of the ship and sent to the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, where it sat unexamined for months. It was only when the lump broke apart, revealing a complex system of interlocking gears and dials within, that archaeologists realized they had found something extraordinary. This was the Antikythera mechanism. For decades, its true purpose remained a mystery. The technology was too advanced, too complex for the era it came from, around the 2nd century BC. It was an anomaly, an out-of-place artifact that seemed to violate the linear progression of history. It wasn't until the 1970s, and later in the early 2000s, with the use of advanced X-ray tomography and high-resolution imaging, that scientists were able to peer inside the corroded fragments and reconstruct the device. What they found was breathtaking. The Antikythera mechanism was not a weapon or a clock. It was an incredibly sophisticated analog computer, a mechanical model of the cosmos. With its complex arrangement of at least 37 interlocking bronze gears, it could predict the positions of the Sun, the Moon, and the 5 planets known to the ancient Greeks: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn with stunning accuracy. By turning a hand crank, the user could set the device to any date and see the precise location of these celestial bodies in the sky. But its capabilities went even further. It could predict solar and lunar eclipses decades in advance, down to the very hour they would occur. It even accounted for the variable speed of the moon's orbit, a complex astronomical motion that was not thought to have been understood until the work of Johannes Kepler over 1,500 years later. It also tracked the 4-year cycle of the ancient Olympic Games and other major athletic events, serving as both a scientific calculator and a social calendar. The existence of the Antikythera mechanism has forced a complete reevaluation of ancient Greek technology. Nothing else like it has ever been found from that period. The level of miniaturization and the mathematical complexity embodied in its gear trains would not be seen again in human history until the appearance of intricate astronomical clocks in 14th century Europe. This raises the ultimate question: how did they build it, and where did this knowledge come from? Was the mechanism a singular stroke of genius from an unknown inventor, a Greek Archimedes whose greatest creation was lost to the sea? Or was it the last surviving remnant of a long tradition of mechanical engineering that has been completely erased from the historical record? Some theories propose that the knowledge may have originated from Babylonian astronomers and was then refined and mechanized by the Greeks, but no text, no diagram, no other artifact has ever been found that suggests the existence of such advanced gear technology. In the ancient world, the Antikythera mechanism stands as a silent rebuke to our assumptions about the past. It is proof that ancient civilizations reached technological heights we are only just beginning to appreciate, leaving us to wonder what other impossible knowledge, what other incredible devices still lie silent and undiscovered beneath the waves or the sand. From a lost device, we now hunt for a lost building, a structure so vast and legendary that ancient historians described it as more wondrous than the pyramids themselves. This is the Great Labyrinth of Egypt, a colossal complex of thousands of rooms, corridors, and courtyards that was said to lie buried beneath the sands at Hawara. For centuries, it was believed to be a myth, an exaggeration by the Greek historian Herodotus. But in 2008, a team of researchers using advanced ground-penetrating radar may have finally proven that the legend is real. Herodotus, who visited Egypt in the 5th century BC, claimed to have seen the labyrinth with his own eyes. He described a building that defied belief, a 2-level structure with 3,000 chambers, 1,500 above ground and 1,500 below. He wrote of 12 magnificent roof courtyards, connected by winding passages and corridors so complex that no one could navigate them without a guide. The walls were covered in intricate carvings and hieroglyphs, and the roofs were made of single, massive slabs of stone. If all the works of the Greeks were put together, he wrote, they would not equal this labyrinth in labor and expense. He was not alone in his awe. Other ancient writers, like Strabo and Pliny the Elder, also described a colossal maze-like structure at Hawara, near the pyramid of the pharaoh Amenemhat III. They claimed the underground levels were the most sacred, containing the tombs of the 12 kings who built the labyrinth, as well as the graves of sacred crocodiles, the animal embodiment of the god Sobek. The keepers of the labyrinth, Herodotus said, refused to show him the subterranean chambers, insisting they were too holy for mortal eyes to behold. For millennia, no physical trace of this incredible structure could be found, and it was relegated to the realm of myth. Then, in 2008, the Manaha expedition, a team of Belgian and Egyptian researchers, brought modern technology to the site. They conducted extensive geophysical scans of the area south of the Hawara pyramid. Their results were electrifying. The radar detected a massive, grid-like structure buried deep beneath the sand, an enormous architectural complex with walls, chambers, and corridors stretching over an area of several hundred meters. Its size and location perfectly matched the descriptions of the ancient historians. The lost labyrinth had been found, but this incredible discovery is where the story takes a strange and frustrating turn. Soon after the findings were presented to Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, a wall of silence descended. The results of the expedition were never officially published. News of the discovery was suppressed, and all further excavations at the site were halted for reasons of national security. To this day, the Egyptian government has not publicly acknowledged the discovery of the labyrinth, and access to the Hawara site remains tightly restricted. Why would a discovery of this magnitude, one that could confirm the writings of Herodotus and reveal a lost wonder of the ancient world, be kept secret? Mainstream theories suggest the site may be unstable, or that the high water table in the region makes excavation too dangerous and expensive, but others believe the reasons are more profound. Could the labyrinth contain knowledge or artifacts that would challenge the established timeline of Egyptian history? Does it hold the tombs of kings whose existence has never been confirmed? Or could its secrets be so paradigm-shifting that some authorities believe the world is simply not ready to know what lies within until the sands of Hawara are properly excavated? The greatest wonder described by Herodotus remains just out of reach, a confirmed but forbidden mystery. The mysteries we have explored so far are etched in stone and ink monuments we can see, and manuscripts we can touch, even if we cannot understand them. But some of history's greatest enigmas are defined not by what was left behind, but by what disappeared. We now turn to the story of the Clovis people, the first widespread, sophisticated, and mysterious prehistoric culture of North America, a people who mastered a continent and then vanished from the face of the earth so suddenly it seems as if they were erased from time itself. The story of the Clovis people began in the 1930s with the discovery of unique and masterfully crafted stone spear points near the city of Clovis, New Mexico. These artifacts, known as Clovis points, were instantly recognizable. They were large, fluted, and deadly sharp, a hallmark of a highly advanced stone tool technology. Radiocarbon dating placed them at around 13,500 years old, making them some of the earliest definitive proof of human settlement in the Americas. For decades, the Clovis were considered the first Americans, a hardy and innovative people who migrated across the Bering Land Bridge and rapidly spread across a new continent. They were masters of survival, apex predators of the Ice Age. Archaeological sites from Canada to Mexico have yielded their distinctive points, often found alongside the bones of the colossal megafauna they hunted: mammoths, mastodons, giant sloths, and North American camels. They were not just surviving, they were thriving in a harsh, post-glacial world. And then, just as quickly as they appeared in the archaeological record, they were gone. Around 12,900 years ago, the Clovis culture abruptly vanishes. Their signature spear points stop appearing, and the entire way of life that had dominated the continent seems to simply cease. The sudden disappearance of such a successful and widespread culture is one of the most significant mysteries in North American archaeology. What could have possibly caused their collapse? For years, the leading theory was overkill. It was believed that the Clovis people were such effective hunters that they drove their primary food sources, the mammoths and other megafauna, to extinction, and in doing so, sealed their own fate. However, this theory has largely fallen out of favor, as it is difficult to prove that a relatively small human population could wipe out so many animal species across such a vast area. A more widely accepted explanation now centers on dramatic and sudden climate change. The end of the Clovis period coincides perfectly with the beginning of a cold snap, known as the Younger Dryas, a brief but brutal return to Ice Age conditions that lasted for over 1,000 years. As temperatures plummeted, glaciers re-advanced, and ecosystems collapsed, the large animals the Clovis depended on would have died out, forcing the people to adapt or perish. It's possible the Clovis didn't vanish entirely, but that their culture simply fractured and evolved into the various regional Native American cultures that followed. But a third, far more catastrophic theory has gained traction in recent years. This is the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis. Proponents of this theory argue that the climate change was triggered by a cosmic event, the airburst or impact of a fragmented comet over North America. Scientists point to a black matte layer found in geological strata across dozens of Clovis-era sites. This layer contains high concentrations of nanodiamonds, metallic microspherules, and iridium, all evidence associated with extraterrestrial impacts. Such an event would have been cataclysmic, igniting continent-spanning wildfires, blocking out the sun with dust and smoke, and triggering the instant deep freeze of the Younger Dryas. It would have wiped out the megafauna and the Clovis people in a geological instant. While still debated, the evidence for a cosmic impact is compelling. Whether by climate, comet, or their own success, the Clovis people leave us with a haunting reminder of the fragility of civilization. They were masters of their world, innovators with a technology that allowed them to conquer a new hemisphere yet they were erased, leaving behind only their beautiful, deadly spear points as silent clues to a story we may never fully understand. From a people who vanished, we travel south to the lush, tropical rainforests of Costa Rica, where a different kind of mystery lies scattered across the landscape. They are known as Las Bolas, the giant stone spheres of the Diqui Delta. There are over 300 of them, perfectly spherical orbs of stone, ranging in size from just a few inches in diameter to over 6 feet tall and weighing up to 16 tons. They are magnificent, seamless, and utterly enigmatic. Who made them and for what purpose? The spheres were first brought to the world's attention in the 1930s, when the United Fruit Company was clearing jungle for banana plantations. Workers stumbled upon these perfectly round stones, some half buried in the forest floor. They are carved from granodiorite, a very hard, igneous rock. The craftsmanship is astounding. Many of the spheres are so perfectly round that modern measurements have shown deviations of only a few millimeters. To achieve this level of precision on such a hard material would have required immense skill, patience, and a deep understanding of geometry. Archaeologists attribute the spheres to the now extinct Diqui culture, which flourished in the region from around 600 AD to 1500 AD, just before the arrival of the Spanish. The problem is that Diqui left behind no written language. There are no texts, no legends, no oral traditions that explain how or why they created these hundreds of monolithic spheres. Without any historical record, their purpose is a complete mystery, leaving the field open to a host of theories. Some of the spheres were found arranged in lines or geometric patterns, often in triangles or parallelograms. This has led many to believe they were astronomical markers, a giant, three-dimensional calendar used to track the solstices or the movement of constellations. It's a compelling idea, suggesting a sophisticated knowledge of the cosmos. Other researchers believe they serve as status symbols or mark the boundaries of tribal territories. Excavations have shown that the spheres were often placed in prominent positions in ancient settlements, typically on approach to the homes of chieftains or important community figures, perhaps to signify power and prestige. Unfortunately, much of their original context has been lost. In the decades after their discovery, before their archaeological importance was understood, many of the spheres were damaged or moved. Workers, believing local legends that the spheres contained gold, sometimes drilled holes in them or blasted them apart with dynamite. Others were rolled into new locations to serve as garden ornaments or status symbols for the wealthy. Only in recent years has the Costa Rican government, with the help of UNESCO, made serious efforts to preserve and study the spheres in their original locations. Fringe theories, of course, also exist, suggesting they were the creations of a lost civilization like Atlantis or were left behind by extraterrestrial visitors. While there is no evidence for such claims, the sheer perfection and mystery of the spheres make it easy to see why such ideas take root. They feel otherworldly. Today, these silent, stone orbs remain a testament to the ingenuity of a lost people. They are a beautiful and frustrating puzzle, a message from the past written in a language of pure form, a language we no longer know how to read. From a lost culture to a lost continent, we now journey beneath the waves of the North Sea to a world that was drowned by time and tide. Imagine a time 10,000 years ago when Great Britain was not an island, a vast, fertile plain of rolling hills, dense forests, winding rivers, and marshlands connected it to mainland Europe, stretching from what is now Scotland to Denmark and the Netherlands. This was Doggerland, a thriving Mesolithic heartland, a paradise for hunter-gatherers, and a world that has been almost completely forgotten, often called the Atlantis of the North Sea. Named after the Dogger Bank, a shallow sandbank in the North Sea. This land was once teeming with life. Our ancestors hunted mammoths, reindeer, and wild horses across its plains. They fished in its rich rivers and foraged in its ancient forests. It was a bridge not just for animals, but for people and ideas, a central hub of European culture after the last ice age. But Doggerland was living on borrowed time, as the great ice sheets that covered much of northern Europe began to melt around 10,000 BC. Global sea levels started to rise. Year after year, century after century, the water crept inwards, slowly but relentlessly swallowing the low-lying plains of Doggerland. The inhabitants would have been forced to retreat to higher ground, watching their hunting grounds and settlements disappear beneath the encroaching sea. Then, around 6,000 to 100 BC, a catastrophe struck. A massive submarine landslide off the coast of Norway, known as the Storge Slide, triggered a colossal tsunami. A wall of water, possibly over 15 feet high, would have surged across what remained of Doggerland, devastating the coastal communities and accelerating the final inundation. By 5500 BC, the last hills of this lost world had sunk beneath the waves, and Britain was officially an island. Doggerland vanished from human memory, becoming a ghost world on the ocean floor. For centuries, its existence was known only to the fishermen who would occasionally pull up strange objects in their nets, the fossilized bones of mammoths, ancient tools made of flint and bone, and even preserved human skulls. These were tantalizing clues from a vanished world. In the 20th century, oil and gas companies conducting seismic surveys of the North Sea floor inadvertently created the first detailed maps of this lost landscape. Their data revealed a world preserved in mud, the courses of ancient rivers, the outlines of lakes, and the gentle slopes of hills. Archaeologists have used this data to reconstruct the world of Doggerland, confirming it was a rich, inhabitable environment. In 2019, researchers even discovered the remains of a submerged forest, its ancient tree stumps still rooted in the seabed, further fueling the hope of one day finding an intact settlement preserved beneath the silt. The story of Doggerland is a powerful and humbling reminder of humanity as vulnerability to the forces of nature. It raises profound questions. What was the culture of the people who lived there? What stories? What beliefs? What knowledge was lost when the waters rose? Some have drawn parallels to Plato's tale of Atlantis, a mighty island civilization swallowed by the sea. While there is no direct link, Doggerland proves that such a catastrophic event is not merely the stuff of legend. It has happened. Today, as our own coastlines are threatened by rising sea levels, the story of Doggerland is more relevant than ever. It is a haunting echo from our deep past, a warning that the lands we stand on are not permanent, and a challenge to uncover the secrets of a world that still lies waiting in the cold, dark waters of the North Sea. The story of humanity is often told through the things we built, but sometimes the most profound stories are found in the things we failed to finish. In the blistering heat of the ancient granite quarries of Aswan, Egypt, lies a monument to ambition so great that it literally broke under its own potential. This is the unfinished obelisk, a single, colossal piece of stone that, had it been completed, would have been the largest of its kind ever erected. It remains there today, still fused to the bedrock from which it was being carved, offering us an unprecedented, frozen-in-time glimpse into the methods, mastery, and perhaps the hubris of the ancient Egyptians. It is believed to have been commissioned over 3,500 years ago by the powerful female pharaoh Hatshepsut during the 18th dynasty. If it had been successfully quarried and erected at the Great Temple of Karnak, it would have towered over the landscape at a height of nearly 137 feet, 42 meters, and weighed an astonishing 1,100 tons, the equivalent of roughly 200 adult African elephants. It was carved directly from the red granite bedrock, a famously hard stone that poses a challenge even for modern tools. 3 of its facades were nearly complete, shaped and smoothed with incredible skill. The obelisk itself provides the clues to its own creation. Archaeologists have found the very tools used by the ancient workers scattered around the site. Thousands of dolerite pounders. These are hand-sized balls of an even harder rock, which the laborers would have relentlessly hammered against the granite, slowly chipping away at the stone to free the obelisk from its rocky womb. To detach its underside from the bedrock, they would have carved a series of small holes and trenches, into which they would insert dry wooden wedges. They would then pour water over the wedges, causing the wood to expand with immense force, creating a controlled crack that would, in theory, shear the massive block clean from the mountain. It was a process of brute force combined with brilliant engineering, but this project was never completed. A massive, critical flaw, a deep crack running through the granite, appeared during the quarrying process. This flaw rendered the entire obelisk structurally unsound and unusable. The project, after what must have been years of backbreaking labor by thousands of men, was abandoned. The crack is the official reason for its abandonment, a simple geological imperfection. But the mystery of the unfinished obelisk is not just why it failed, but how they ever thought it could succeed. Even if they had managed to free the 1,100-ton monolith from the quarry, how did they intend to move it? Transporting such an object over 130 miles from Aswan to the temple at Karnak is a puzzle that has baffled engineers for generations. The mainstream theory suggests they would have dragged the obelisk on a massive wooden sledge to the banks of the Nile, where it would be loaded onto an enormous barge, specially constructed to bear its weight, and floated downriver during the annual flood. Yet, the logistics of lifting a 1,100-ton stone onto a boat without it capsizing are staggering. No records exist that detail a transport operation on this scale. The sheer ambition of the project has led some to question if the ancient Egyptians had access to a lost, higher technology. Was the simple crack in the stone the real reason for failure? Or did some other catastrophic event of political upheaval, or even the death of Hatshepsut herself bring the project to a halt? The unfinished obelisk lies today as a scar in the landscape, a silent monument not to a great pharaoh, but to the breathtaking audacity of human will and the fine line between triumph and failure. From a masterpiece that was never finished, we journey to one that seems impossible to have ever begun. In the state of Maharashtra, India, carved into a single, colossal rock face in the Ellora Caves complex, is a structure that defies belief, the Kailasa Temple. This is not a building in the traditional sense. It was not constructed by stacking stones. It was created by removing them. The Kailasa Temple is the largest monolithic structure in the world, a multi-story temple complex with courtyards, bridges, statues, and intricate halls, all carved directly out of one solid piece of basalt rock. The builders started at the top of the mountain and chiseled their way down, liberating the temple from the surrounding stone. It is an act of reverse architecture so complex and so perfect that it continues to confound engineers and historians today. The scale of the undertaking is almost impossible to comprehend. Archaeologists estimate that to create the temple, workers had to excavate over 400,000 tons of rock. The temple itself is twice the size of the Parthenon in Athens and covers a larger area. Every surface, from the towering pillars to the life-sized elephant statues and the intricate panels depicting scenes from Hindu mythology, is part of that original, single rock. The detail is sublime. One of the most famous reliefs shows the demon king Ravana shaking Mount Kailasa, the sacred abode of the god Shiva, a dynamic and powerful masterpiece of ancient art. But the greatest mystery is the time frame. Mainstream history attributes the temple's creation to the reign of King Krishna I of the Rashtrakuta dynasty in the 8th century AD, and suggests it was completed in a staggering short period of just 18 years. This timeline presents a mathematical impossibility. To remove 400,000 tons of rock in 18 years, workers would have had to excavate roughly 60 tons of hard basalt every single day. Using only the simple tools available at the time, hammers, chisels, and picks, this feat seems beyond the realm of human capability. It would have required a level of manpower and efficiency that is difficult to imagine. How did they achieve such perfection, carving from the top down with no room for error? In conventional construction, mistakes can be corrected. In monolithic carving, a single misplaced chisel strike could ruin a statue or compromise the integrity of a pillar, yet the temple is flawless. This has led to numerous alternative theories. Some suggest the temple is far older than officially stated, perhaps the work of a much earlier civilization over many centuries. Others, pointing to the perfectly straight drill holes and impossibly smooth cuts found in some areas, speculate about the use of a lost, advanced technology, with some even proposing extraterrestrial assistance. Adding to the temple's mystique is its incredible durability. In the 17th century, the Mule Emperor Aurangzeb, who was known for destroying Hindu temples, ordered 1,000 men to demolish Kailasa. For 3 years, they labored to tear it down, but they barely managed to scratch its surface, succeeding only in damaging a few statues before giving up completely. The temple had been carved with such integrity from the solid rock that it was virtually indestructible. Today, the Kailasa Temple stands as a miracle in stone. It is a testament to the devotion and genius of its creators, but it is also a profound mystery. Was it truly the product of 18 years of feverish labor with simple tools, a feat of human dedication that borders on the superhuman, or is it the legacy of a technology and a history that we have long forgotten? The stones themselves offer no clear answer, leaving us to simply stand in awe. From a temple carved from a mountain, we descend into an enigma that lies deep within the earth itself. In 1992, in the village of Xianbai in Zhejiang province, China, a local farmer named Ruanai decided to drain the water from a pond near his home. He had always known it as a deep, fish-filled body of water, but he was curious to know just how deep it was. After 17 days of pumping, the water receded and something impossible was revealed. This was no pond. It was the entrance to a massive, man-made cavern, its walls and ceiling covered in perfectly uniform, parallel tool marks. This was the first of the Long-U grottos. Intrigued, the villagers began draining other nearby ponds, and one by one, a hidden, subterranean world emerged. To date, 24 hand-carved grottos have been discovered, an entire underground city of immense caverns that has been called the ninth wonder of the ancient world. What makes the Longyou grottos so baffling is not just their scale, but their sheer perfection and the complete absence of any historical record of their existence. The grottos are enormous, with some covering over 1,000 square meters and reaching heights of over 100 feet. The walls are steep and straight, the ceilings and pillars carved with remarkable precision. Archaeologists estimate that over 1 million cubic meters of rock were excavated to create the entire complex. But the most striking feature is the tooling. Every single surface in every cave is covered with identical, parallel chisel marks set at a roughly 60-degree angle. This uniform pattern suggests the entire project was completed by a single, unified team following a master plan or using a specific, unknown technique. The greatest mystery of all, however, is the complete lack of information about them. Based on stylistic analysis, archaeologists estimate they were created during the Qin dynasty, around 1,000 to 100 years ago, the same era as the Terracotta Army. And yet, not a single historical document, not one local legend, not a single text from that prolific period of Chinese history makes any mention of this colossal undertaking. How could a project that would have involved thousands of laborers working for years be so completely erased from history? And what was its purpose? No human remains, no pottery, no tools, no artifacts of any kind have ever been found inside the caves, leaving their function a total enigma. Theories are abundant, but each one is flawed. Were they imperial tombs? Unlikely, as they are unadorned and far grander than any known tomb from that era. Were they a secret military base or a place to shelter from war? Possible, but the intricate carvings seem unnecessary for a purely functional shelter. Were they mines for some precious mineral? No evidence of significant mineral deposits has been found. Some researchers have suggested they were a massive, sacred ceremonial site, hidden from the world. But a secret of this scale seems impossible to keep. The Longyou grottos are a perfect void. We have the creation, a monumental feat of engineering, but we have no creators, no purpose, and no history. They are a silent, underground city, whose story was either so secret it was never written down, or so completely forgotten that it vanished from human memory entirely. They remain today as one of archaeology's most profound and unsettling questions. The mysteries of the ancient world are not always carved into mountains or buried in royal tombs. Sometimes, they are found in a few fragments of bone that suggest a different kind of humanity once walked the earth, or in the cryptic pages of a book that no one can read. Our next enigma takes us to 19th century France, to a discovery that, if authentic, would prove that the giants of myth and legend were once very real. This is the mystery of the giant of Castelnau. In the winter of 1890, in a Bronze Age burial mound near the village of Castelnau-les, the French anthropologist Georges Vacher de Lapouge unearthed 3 enormous fragments of bone, a piece of a femur, a piece of a tibia, and a piece of an upper arm bone. They were clearly humanoid, but their size was unlike anything seen before or since. Based on his calculations, which he published in the respected scientific journal Law Nature, Lapouge estimated that the individual these bones belonged to would have stood at a staggering 3.5 meters or 11 feet and 6 inches tall. He insisted in his report that despite their colossal size, they were unquestionably human. The discovery caused a sensation. The bones were sent to the University of Montpellier for further study, where leading professors of zoology and paleontology examined them. They concurred with Lapouge's initial assessment. The bones were indeed human, though they noted the possibility of a pathological condition causing such extreme growth. The case was considered a remarkable, though perhaps isolated, example of gigantism in the ancient world. But then, more discoveries were made. In the years that followed, reports emerged of other giant bones and even enormous skulls being found in a nearby prehistoric cemetery, with some remains suggesting individuals between 10 and 15 feet tall. These artifacts were reportedly sent to the French Academy of Sciences for study, but after that, their trail goes cold. The bones, including the original fragments found by Lapouge, have since vanished from all public and private collections. They have never been subjected to modern scientific analysis, such as DNA testing or radiocarbon dating. Their disappearance has only fueled the mystery and the speculation. What happened to the bones of the giant of Castelnau? Were they quietly hidden away because they represented a truth too uncomfortable for mainstream science to accept? Modern skeptics propose a more mundane explanation. It's possible the bones were not human at all, but belonged to a large prehistoric animal, such as a giant cave bear, and were simply misidentified by 19th century scientists whose knowledge of comparative anatomy was still developing. This seems plausible, yet it doesn't explain why multiple experts at the University of Montpellier, a respected institution, would have all confidently identified them as human. The story of the giant taps into the universal mythology of giants that exists in nearly every culture around the world, from the Cyclops of ancient Greece to the Nephilim mentioned in the Bible. Was Lapuja's discovery the first physical evidence of these legendary races? Or was it an honest mistake, magnified by the era's fascination with the strange and the sensational? Without the original bones to study, we are left with only the century-old records and measurements from a lost scientific paper. The giant of Castell now remains a true phantom of history, a towering question mark that has, itself, disappeared. From lost bones, we turn to a lost language, locked within the pages of a book that has defied every attempt to understand it. In the archives of the Hungarian Academy of Sciences lies a small, unassuming volume known as the Rohan Codex. For nearly 2 centuries, this mysterious manuscript has been the ultimate intellectual puzzle, a text that has resisted the efforts of the world's most brilliant linguists, cryptographers, and historians. No one knows who wrote it, when it was written, what language it is in, or what secrets it contains. It is a book filled with words that have no meaning. The Codex was donated to the Academy in the 1830s as part of the vast library of a Hungarian count, but its origins before that are unknown. It consists of 448 pages filled with a strange, elegant script composed of over 100 unique symbols, far more than any known alphabet. The text flows from right to left and is accompanied by 87 strange illustrations. These drawings only deepen the mystery. They depict scenes of warfare, with Christian crosses displayed alongside Islamic crescents and pagan sun symbols. There are landscapes, portraits of figures in medieval attire, and complex religious iconography that seems to draw from multiple, often conflicting, belief systems. This blending of symbols is unique and has no parallel in any other known manuscript. Who could have created such a text? Over the years, dozens of theories have been proposed. Some believe it is the sacred text of a lost religious sect from Central Europe, written in a unique code to protect its esoteric teachings from outsiders. Others have tried to link the language to ancient Hungarian, Hindi, or even Dacian, but every attempt to translate it has failed, producing only nonsensical gibberish. The complexity of the script and the consistency of the writing suggest it is not a random collection of symbols, but a genuine, structured language. Yet, if it is a real language, it is one that has been completely lost to history. Of course, the possibility remains that the Rohan Codex is nothing more than an elaborate and ingenious hoax created in the 18th or 19th century by a brilliant forger, with a deep knowledge of ancient manuscripts and a desire to stump future generations. Some have argued that the paper and ink are consistent with that period. Yet, even if it is a hoax, it is a work of genius. To invent an entire, internally consistent writing system and produce a 448-page book in it is a monumental undertaking in itself. No one has ever been able to prove it's a forgery, just as no one has been able to prove it's authentic. The world's best codebreakers, both human and artificial, have been turned loose on the Rohan Codex. They have used statistical analysis, frequency analysis, and pattern recognition, the same techniques used to crack complex military codes, and they have all failed. The book remains perfectly, stubbornly silent. It is a lock without a key, a message from an unknown author written in an unknown language for an unknown purpose. It lies in its archive, a monument to the limits of our knowledge, daring us to solve a puzzle that may have no solution. Our final mystery in this chapter comes not from a book or a collection of bones, but from a map that appears to show the world as no one in the 16th century could possibly have seen it. This is the Piri-Reis map, drawn in 1513 by the Ottoman admiral and cartographer Haji Ahmed Muhyiddin Piri, or Piri-Reis. What survives today is only a fragment of a larger world map drawn on gazelle skin, but what that fragment depicts has astonished and baffled researchers ever since it was rediscovered in a library at the Topkapi Palace in Istanbul in 1929. The map shows the western coast of Europe and North Africa and the eastern coast of South America, with a remarkable degree of accuracy for its time. Brazil is shown in incredible detail, positioned correctly relative to Africa. This alone would make it a valuable historical artifact, but it is the other features that elevate the Piri-Reis map into the realm of the truly inexplicable. First, it appears to depict mountain ranges in the interior of South America, like the Andes. which were largely unexplored by Europeans in 1513. But the most stunning and controversial feature lies at the very bottom of the map. It shows a landmass extending from the southern tip of South America, a landmass that corresponds with uncanny precision to the coast of Queen Maud Land in Antarctica. The problem is, Antarctica was not officially discovered until 1820, over 300 years after this map was made. Even more impossibly, the map depicts the coastline of Antarctica not as it is today, buried under a mile-thick sheet of ice, but as it would have looked before it was frozen over thousands of years ago. It shows a coastline of bays, rivers, and islands, details that we have only been able to confirm in the 20th century using modern, ice-penetrating seismic echo soundings. How is this possible? Perry Rees himself provides a clue in the notes he wrote on the map. He states that he did not create the map from his own explorations, but compiled it from over 20 older source maps, including some ancient Greek charts, and he claims a map that had once belonged to Christopher Columbus himself. This implies that Perry Rees had access to a library of ancient knowledge that has since been lost to the world. But even that doesn't solve the mystery. No map from Columbus's time or from ancient Greece could have possibly contained information about the true, ice-free coastline of Antarctica. This has led to one of history's most fascinating theories, that the source maps used by Perry Rees were themselves copies of even more ancient charts, created by a forgotten prehistoric seafaring civilization that had mapped the entire world with advanced technology long before the last ice age. Proponents of this theory, like the late Professor Charles Hapgood, argue that this was the only logical explanation for the map's impossible accuracy. Could a civilization advanced enough to map the globe have existed in deep antiquity, only to be wiped out by a global cataclysm, leaving behind only a few precious documents that were copied down through the ages? Mainstream historians are, of course, highly skeptical. They argue that the Antarctic coastline is more likely a combination of coincidence, guesswork, and a fanciful depiction of the then-believed Terra Australis, a mythical southern continent. But the similarities between the map and the real subglacial topography are difficult to dismiss as mere chance. The Perry Rees map remains a cartographic enigma. Is it a flawed, a brilliant piece of 16th century compilation, or is it a window into a lost chapter of human history, a message from a forgotten world? In our journey through the unexplained, we have found mysteries in the sheer scale of ancient monuments and in the silence of forgotten texts. Our final chapter begins with a mystery born in the modern age, a discovery that ignited the imagination of the entire world, only to present an even deeper, more subtle puzzle. We traveled to Alexandria, Egypt, the jewel of the ancient Mediterranean, for the story of the Black Sarcophagus. In the summer of 2018, during a routine construction project, workers unearthed something extraordinary, a colossal, sealed coffin carved from a single block of black granite. It was immense, nearly 9 feet long and weighing almost 30 tons, and unlike anything typically found in the region. Most royal sarcophagi are adorned with intricate hieroglyphs and carvings, but this one was completely, ominously bare. The discovery sparked a global media frenzy. Rumors swirled with feverish intensity. Could this be it? The legendary lost tomb of Alexander the Great, the city's founder, whose final resting place has been one of history's most sought-after prizes for 2 millennia. The sarcophagus was ancient, monumental, and found in his city. The theory seemed plausible. As archaeologists prepared to open the coffin, the speculation reached a fever pitch. Some warned of a deadly ancient curse that would be unleashed upon the world, while others dreamed of the priceless historical artifacts that might lie within. In July 2018, under the watchful eyes of the world's media, the team of experts finally pried open the massive lid. But there was no curse, no treasure, and no king. Instead, the team was met with the overwhelming stench of raw sewage, which had seeped into the sarcophagus over the centuries. Submerged in the foul, reddish-brown water were not the remains of a great conqueror, but the jumbled skeletons of 3 ordinary individuals, 2 men and 1 woman. Forensic analysis suggested they died around the 3rd century BC, during the early Ptolemaic period. One of the skulls showed evidence of a violent end, but there were no signs of royalty, no gold, no inscriptions. The great mystery of Alexander's tomb remained unsolved, but a new, more perplexing mystery had just begun. Why was such an incredibly expensive and monumental black granite sarcophagus a material that had to be quarried and transported hundreds of miles from Aswan at enormous cost used for an unceremonious burial of 3 unknown people? Who were they? A noble family who fell out of favor, their names deliberately erased from history, soldiers who died in a chaotic battle and were hastily buried together, or members of a secret society whose beliefs forbade any markings on their final resting place. The fact that they were given such a high-status burial, yet were left completely anonymous, is a paradox that has stumped historians. The Black Sarcophagus of Alexandria didn't provide the answer everyone was hoping for. Instead, it left us with a deeper, more human mystery of silent, black monument to 3 forgotten lives, whose story was deemed important enough to be sealed in granite, but not important enough to be remembered. From a singular, massive enigma, we turn to a multitude of small, intricate ones. Scattered across museums in Europe are over 100 strange and beautiful objects that have no known purpose, no mention in any historical text, and no logical explanation. They are known as the Roman dodecahedrons. These are small, hollow objects cast from bronze with 12 flat pentagonal faces. Each face has a circular hole in the center, and the holes are often of different sizes. At each of the object's 20 vertices, there is a small, decorative knob. They date from the 2nd to the 4th centuries AD, and the craftsmanship required to create such a complex, hollow, multifaceted object would have been significant, suggesting they were items of value. The mystery begins with where they are found. Over 130 have been discovered, from Wales to Hungary, primarily in the northern provinces of the Roman Empire, in regions with a strong Celtic cultural influence. But strangely, not a single one has ever been found in Italy, the heart of the empire itself. This geographical distribution is our first clue, but it only deepens the puzzle. What were they for? Dozens of theories have been proposed, and not a single one is conclusive. The most popular theory is that they were religious or ritualistic objects, perhaps used for fortune-telling or magic by Gallo-Roman cults. This would explain their absence in Rome, where such magical practices were often viewed with suspicion. And it would also explain why no Roman writer ever described them. Their use may have been a closely guarded secret. Other theories are more practical. Some suggest they were survey instruments or distance measuring devices for Roman artillery, but the lack of any standardization in their size or the diameter of their holes makes this unlikely. Another idea is that they were astronomical instruments, used to determine the optimal sowing date for winter grain by measuring the angle of sunlight. Others have proposed they were simple toys, dice for a forgotten game, or even a sophisticated knitting tool for making the fingers of Roman gloves. But none of these theories can explain the complexity of their design or the resources that went into making them. The Roman dodecahedron is a perfect enigma. It is an object we can hold and measure, a product of one of history's greatest civilizations. Yet its function is completely lost to us. They are a fleet of tiny, silent puzzles, a reminder that even in an empire as well documented as Rome, there were secrets that were never written down. Our final journey takes us from the works of man to a wonder of nature, to a place so desolate and so strange that it seems to be governed by a different set of physical laws. In the heart of Death Valley, California, lies a dry lake bed known as Racetrack Playa. And here, for over a century, a phenomenon has occurred that has defied all explanation: the saline stones. Scattered across the cracked, barren surface of the playa are rocks, some small, some weighing hundreds of pounds, and behind them, etched into the dried mud, are long, winding trails. These stones are moving. No human or animal has been seen pushing them. They glide across the ground as if propelled by an unseen force, their tracks recording journeys that can stretch for hundreds of feet. Some travel in straight lines, others make sharp, impossible turns. Some even seem to travel together in formation before veering off on their own paths. For decades, this mystery captivated scientists and mystics alike. What could possibly be moving these heavy rocks across a flat, dry plain? Early theories focused on hurricane-force winds, but calculations showed that winds of over 500 miles per hour would be needed to move the heaviest stones. More fringe theories proposed everything from subtle magnetic fields to acoustic levitation, or even the intervention of extraterrestrial pranksters. The mystery seemed destined to remain unsolved. But in 2011, a team of researchers decided to end the speculation. They fitted 15 of the rocks with motion-activated GPS trackers, installed a high-resolution weather station, and set up time-lapse cameras, preparing to wait for years, if necessary, to catch the stones in the act. They only had to wait 2 years. In the winter of 2013, after a rare rainfall had left a thin layer of water on the playa, a unique combination of events occurred. The temperature dropped, freezing the water into a vast, thin sheet of window pane ice, just a few millimeters thick. As the morning sun came up, The ice began to melt and break into large, floating panels. Then, a light, steady wind of just 10 miles per hour began to blow across the playa. This gentle breeze was enough to push the enormous sheets of ice, and the stones trapped within them, slowly and gracefully across the slick, muddy surface below. The stones moved at a speed of only a few feet per minute, a motion too slow to be seen with the naked eye. The GPS trackers and time-lapse cameras had captured it all. The sailing stones were being pushed by giant, floating panes of ice. The solution to the mystery of the moving stones is, in its own way, as magical and as beautiful as any of the supernatural theories that came before it. It is a perfect, delicate confluence of rain, ice, and wind, a rare natural spectacle that reminds us that our world is still filled with wonders that are stranger and more elegant than we can imagine. It proves that sometimes the greatest secrets are not hidden in lost tombs or ancient texts, but are waiting patiently in the open, products of the silent, invisible forces that shape our planet. Thank you for watching until the end of the video. If you found these mysteries fascinating, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any of our upcoming journeys. We'll see you in the next video.